Thank you for joining us here on The Human Resource. My name is Pandy Pridemore, and we bring topics to the show that many times I think nobody else is talking about this. Why isn't somebody talking about this? And it's so funny. If you listen to the show, you've heard me talk about Fiona Ong, an attorney with Shawe and Rosenthal. And I can't wait to meet her. We've corresponded a couple of times. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant, and she's got a great sense of humor. And Fiona just wrote a paper on a topic I just said, we've got to talk about this because I've been asked this question a million times. How many of you have had employees ask you for bereavement time for their pet? No, I'm serious. How many have you been approached and said, my dog's not doing well, or my cat's not doing well? I need time off. New York City is in the process of reviewing Pawternity leave within the existing Earned Safe and Sick Time Act. And what I'm trying to say is that they have acknowledged, and this group, everybody in New York City does things a little bit faster and a little bit sideways compared to the rest of us. But on this particular topic, I think they've hit something. I think this is well worth a discussion. 2 years ago, I had to put my last horse down. And my dog just had surgery. We picked him up yesterday. To many of us, our pets are more than just our pets. They are our companions. And how many times did we hear of people during the pandemic going out and emptying the shelters? They were adopting animals to have that companionship in that lonely time and in that scary time. And now that we're out of it, those additions to our family have truly become our family. And I cannot tell you how many times I have been approached by employees to say, hey, do you think you can convince them to not only give us bereavement for family members and those who are close to us, but could you also get them to add if we lose a pet? And I'm bringing this up because I want us to all kind of go back and think about how we're applying the policies that we do have in place. There's so many times when I have looked at an employer and said, why are you not using PTO, paid time off, versus vacation and sick time? Why do you keep those divided? And the response is always, well, we want to make sure that they're not using vacation for time that they are sick, but we also want to make sure they're not using sick time for just fun stuff. And to me, I understand some of you might really consider that to be a valid reason, but to me, I wouldn't want to babysit. If I were in your shoes as an HR person, I don't care if you want to use the time. It's a benefit, you've earned it, or you've accrued it. Use it. I'm hoping you're not sick, but if you have the time and you need to take away some time from work, go do whatever you're doing. I don't really care. I don't want to babysit. And in a workforce and in a time in society where autonomy is almost demanded by certain members of our generations, you know what? This is probably a topic you should think about. Do we really care if somebody needs time to mourn their cat or their dog or their horse? If they have the time off, let them take it. Yes, we want to be compassionate. And yes, we want to be sympathetic. But do we really need to decide whether that's important or not? And again, if they have the time off. Now, I understand when that conversation gets difficult, especially when you're right in the middle of your busiest time, or you've got a milestone you've got to meet, or their impact on the company is extremely imperative. and it's important. And letting them go for a couple of days is, it's gonna be tough. You're gonna feel it. But let me add another point in here. At no time for any of us that are in the workforce have we ever seen mental health be at the place that it is. And I don't think I'm so different that I can't say that it took me days. I loved my little girl. I loved my mare. Beautiful little Irish thoroughbred. And not little, but gosh, I loved that horse. And it took me a couple days to be able to deal with that and talk about it. And if I lose one of my dogs, it'll be the same thing. There's a closeness of relationship. And I'm sure that all of you can say the same thing about something you have, whether it's a fish, a turtle, a bird. It doesn't matter. If it affects you, if something in your life affects you and you need the time off, as employers and leaders of the company, shouldn't it be our job to encourage them to take the time off if they have it? And what if they don't? This is where you exercise that discretion as either an owner or a leader in the company to say, you know what, this person needs the time to move on past this. They're better off at home or somewhere where they can deal with their emotions. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Give them that space. It's interesting, even with the initiative there in New York City, they're basically saying, look, we've given you this program called the Earned Safe and Sick Time Act. We're not asking employers to give additional, but we are asking them to admit and accept that in this policy, we're going to include Pawternity. We're going to include pet coverage. And they're even going as far as to say that if your dog or cat or if your animal needs diagnostic or treatment, they're even considering giving people that as an excuse. And I'm going to go back and say, look, that's for safe and sick time. If they've got PTO and they want to take their dog into the vet, that's fine. Let them exhaust this benefit that they have. I actually had to have somebody go pick my dog up for me. I couldn't get away. Not that I have paid leaves, but you get my point. Look, all I'm asking you to do is go back and look at how you're administering and using and monitoring paid time off. This is just a really good example. And Fiona's paper is just excellent because she's bringing up the same point. Look, what are we doing with our policies? And if we're taking care of our employees, we're probably already doing this. Adding it in the policy language really isn't going to hurt anything. Can we get a little extreme? Well, I suppose we could, but do we really? Let me ask you that. Let me pose that question. California had to add language in saying that victims of domestic violence should have the right to have time off. I've seen another state come in and say, look, someone who loses a child should have mourning time outside of bereavement, a miscarriage, an abortion. They should have time to deal with that. These are valid questions. And again, we're dealing with our workforce, the people that we depend on to meet the quality, to meet the standards, to take care of our customers. Why wouldn't we think about some of this? And if you've got leaders who are very resistant to this, please identify them. Because it's one thing to deny someone time to mourn their pet, but what other things could they possibly be offering a little bit more compassion to? We all go through moments where we need time to deal. We all have issues and times where we think, I just can't deal with this. I need a corner and just let me stare out into space for a while. I need to be alone. Well, if I've got accrued time, I should be able to use it. Even if it involves my pet. Fiona, thank you so much for great material. I love reading your stuff. And I hope each of you viewers and listeners, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. So come back. Come back to the human resource. Take care.